Well, we were gonna do some training, but we didn't wanna do the training without the two new members, cause, you know, what's the point, so. March.
Okay, you're on.
Speaking of microphones, BZA and other meetings, if the person who's being, like, addressed doesn't come up and speak in the microphone, we can't hear, you can't hear anything. Hello. How was your trip?
Great.
Good.
Got to spend 5 days with him, so.
Oh, Glenn's like, no.
Pretty bad.
Oh, maybe you will.
I'll step back here. I just want to talk practice.
Hello, Mr. Owens.
That's fine.
Hello, folks.
How are you?
Well, you didn't have to do it in color.
Didn't mean to.
Hey. How are you?
Good.
Good.
Here, local? Yeah. I don't hear much of it. Don't hear much at all. Very little.
Call the meeting to order of the Kingston Regional Planning Commission. If you would call the roll, Mr. Williams.
Chair Wright.
Present.
Secretary Pickle.
Here.
Mayor Neal.
Present.
Mr. Clifton.
Present.
Mr. Qualls.
Here.
Mr. Lovin.
Here.
Mr. Owens.
Here.
Mr. Frog. Chair, we have a form, we can proceed.
Thank you, sir. If everybody's had a chance to go through the minutes of our previous meeting, which was quite a while ago, if no one has any changes, can I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Mayor Neal,
Second.
second by Mr. Levin.
Chairwoman Wright.
Yes.
Secretary Pickle.
Yes.
Mayor Neal.
Yes.
Mr. Clifton.
Yes.
Mr. Qualls.
Yes.
Mr. Lovin.
Yes.
Mr. Owens.
Yes.
We can proceed it, pass it.
Thank you, sir. I have nothing to report.
I was sitting here trying to think back the last 3 months, and I can't think of anything that affected the planning commission.
The only thing is the build grant. We've almost got our approval for the guidance for that. So hopefully we can start working on the build grant planning for the bridge-to-bridge corridor starting in August. But we're waiting on the federal government. So who knows? Who knows? Yeah, who knows when that'll happen? Mayor, you don't have anything.
No.
City manager is out. Are there anything else to report from any of the other committees? I don't think so. I don't think anybody else has met.
Let me just give a heads up,
Okay.
if you don't mind, Chair.
Sure.
I think you and I have emailed about this, Mr. Lee Hansa.
Mm-hmm.
He has property, well, he's wanting to buy a vacant lot at 509 West Ray Street. It's across from the.
It's across from the
Grace
church. Mm-hmm.
Um,
So
and,
it's the smokehouse,
okay.
Glenn Reynolds
Yeah.
in the church. Mm-hmm.
And, he would like to put a small house on there, it doesn't really matter, you know, the use is residential is what he wants it to be. It's zoned as C2, which doesn't allow residences. And, I explained that to him. And And, I also explained he had the freedom to, or the property owner has the freedom to request a not a variance, but a rezoning for that property.
Mm-hmm.
And, I told him outright that I didn't think just rezoning one property there, there's like one or two properties of R1 between, of C2 before you get to the R1 going that way. No.
The entire corridor's C2.
I can't remember the name of the street,
Just have one.
but, that,
rezone.
everything along that street is
Rezone.
R1, and it's just a couple
You're
of
across from
properties
Packers or-
that are zone
Yeah.
C2 away from that. And I said, they might consider it, I said, I'm not gonna speak on behalf of the planning commission, it's in the council.
Mm-hmm.
But it would be more, I think, palatable if that whole little group was rezoned. They all contain houses.
Yeah.
And I'm not proposing that, I'm just saying we may get a request for that
Mm-hmm.
at some point. So
Along
that's
all of,
all that is a
yeah,
heads up.
along all of our state highway rights of way, they're all pretty much all commercial. The rezoning that we just did, it was accidentally zoned commercial, and it's off that road, so it wasn't on the main 70. It was one road back from that. Well,
Yeah, I also, I do got a report.
okay.
Okay. In the last 3 months, the BZA has met about 3 times. Last night was the latest one. There was an issue with a house on Galahar that was one piece of property up, but the way the piece of property house went, it cut down and touched.
L-shaped.
Yeah, it was L-shaped, so they were wanting to build a pool, so we gave them variance on that.
Yeah.
And Glenn was here on that. And the other thing I want to report is our 2 new members, Mr. Jim Owens
Oh, I'm so
and
sorry.
Mr. Sammy Frog.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, and that's all I have to report.
Okay. Yeah, and I'd actually had some emails about that piece of property on Galahar. His other option was just to subdivide the 2 lots and keep the 1 lot that fronted that highway separate, and then he could have his property rezoned. But it looks like he got it taken care of. At this time, this is the time we set aside to hear from the public. The only person we have here is Mr. Brewer. He's already on the agenda, so if you want to come up and kind of tell us what you're wanting to talk about the property on Galahar Road.
Just to introduce it, Mr. Hansa and I have talked.
No, this is
No,
Mr.
I'm
Brewer.
sorry, Mr. Brewer, Charlie Brewer, I'm sorry, I got just conglomerated for a second. But we've talked, and he called me, wanted to know about putting in an RV park up on Gallagher, and said the property's on C2, and I verified that.
Mm-hmm.
And, anyway, he asked to come to the planning commission, I said that'd be an excellent idea to give us a heads up and a little background about what he's proposing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why he's here.
Okay.
It's all yours, Mr. Brewer.
Pardon me?
If you'll, address the planning commission, what you're proposing, you've got the floor.
Yeah, my name's Charlie Brewer, and I own the mobile home park and RV park out on Galahar Road, and I bought the property where the house blew up. That joins my property, and I don't want to put any mobile homes on it, but I'd like to do an RV park type thing. I also have the Four Seasons, a campground down behind Weigels. And so that's what I'd like to do with the property that I bought there.
Okay. What type of RV park are you wanting to put there?
Pardon me?
What type of RV park? Short term, long term?
Well, it'd be mostly, like right now, there's a lot of workers that are at Oak Ridge on several big jobs, and so I have a lot of those workers at both my other places, and so there would be some of those. I'm not so much into overnight deals, but that would be mainly what I want to do.
Okay. Does anybody have any comments before I speak?
said that it's sort of not a short term, like overnight, but you're talking about like 30 days or more, or you're talking about 90 days or more, or what kind of time frame are you looking at?
I can't hear, and
Okay.
so I can't hear what you're saying.
Okay, so the time frame that you're talking about, is it over 30 days or over 90 days, or what is your thought on the, I mean, some of those projects are 2 years long or something like that, and so is it,
Well, most of the people that I deal with now are more than 30 days, you know, and so there's not really a time limit on what we're doing now. Yeah. Yeah.
okay.
Anybody else on this side? Do you have anything, Bo?
Not at the moment.
Okay.
What does C2 say about it? I was just gonna ask.
They are allowed in C2.
For a second, the C2 is, in no district are RV parks or travel trailer parks or any synonyms expressly allowed.
Right.
And, after having talked with
We looked
Mayor
up
and
the,
Secretary, we kind of felt like that was the appropriate district.
well, what you do is you look up the Merriam-Webster dictionary definition of what we have set out. And an RV park is considered recreation because that's one of the things in our district. So it would be allowed. So the zoning is appropriate for it. Do you have anything else? Anyone? No? My comments are, we have been, since the city of Kingston does not have RV park standards right now. The county does not have RV park standards right now, but we are currently in the process of setting those standards, both the county and the city. And since we don't have those standards set yet, we kind of have to go through and see what the industry standards are for an RV park. And unfortunately, we haven't been able to find RV parks that are on less than 2 acres. And I believe your property is 1.7 acres.
Well, see, on the flat, that 1.7 acres is the property that I just purchased.
Mm-hmm.
But also, a few months back or a year or so ago, that property, the 1.7 acres, don't have any road front. It only has a 20-foot easement.
That's right.
Or a 20-foot entrance. Well, I bought the roadfront lot that's right in front of it.
Mm-hmm.
And that, I'm thinking, is like 120 feet or 180 feet maybe. This little lot right here. Right here.
Mm-hmm.
And so now,
So do you have this too?
um,
Oh, wait. Where's the property?
no, I don't have that.
And this is
I
the,
have this over here.
yes, but this is the property you bought.
This is property right here in red.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then I've got this little lot right here.
Okay.
So I would have 160 or 180 feet of road front
Mm-hmm.
there, instead of just having that 20 feet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So the problem that I foresee is we can't give you any guidance on how to do your site plan that would be brought in front of us to approve or deny.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what guidance to give you because we don't have those rules set yet. Do you have a timeline of when you were wanting to start?
Yesterday.
Yesterday?
Yeah. See, I've been cleaning up all that debris and everything.
And we appreciate
Yeah.
that.
And I've got that pretty much done.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I'm wanting to, move some of the dirt,
Mm-hmm.
back onto the backside. There's kind of a low area back there, and I wanna do some field there, which I wouldn't have anything to do with the RV part. I mean, I'd just be working on the property, you know, I wouldn't be doing any spots or anything.
Mm-hmm.
How many,
Until I got
how
okay
many
with it.
units are planned for that space?
Yeah, that would be good to know because the rules that will be set out will set out how far apart they need to be, what kind of pads, if you need to have a wash house, all that stuff. So how many, like you said, how many units were you thinking to be put in?
I'm thinking probably about 30, maybe, it just depends like on I don't know what they would require for lot size, but most RV parks have about 30 feet between each pad.
Right.
And, so, I hadn't really done a figure on that, but I'm thinking probably about 30 spots.
Can I see your map one more time just to take a little? So does this lot right here also get served by that easement?
Is what now?
No, he's got, never mind, it's got road frontage.
Yeah, that lot belongs to somebody else, but anyway.
How many units do you think you have at Four Seasons?
How many do I have?
Mm-hmm. How many
There's,
spots?
Probably 65. It's 55 to 60, somewhere in that area.
Wow, you would never think that that's that big back there. Yeah.
How big that property is?
Do you know how big that property is?
It's four and a half or something, about 4.5 acres. Yeah.
Well, Mr. Brewer, I don't know quite how to guide you at this time because we don't have those rules in place. And the soonest that we would, what is the, once we come up with the ordinance for this, what's the voting procedure? Is that one meeting, 2 meetings?
It would be 2 meetings. It's an amendment to the zoning ordinance, and whether it's a rezoning or, amendment to the map or the text, it's planning commission's required to make a recommendation one way or the other.
Mm-hmm.
And it's ultimately up to city council to have 2 readings, right, Mayor, 2 readings and a public hearing.
2 meetings and a public hearing.
The public hearing in one reading could be held the same night.
So the soonest we could get you guidance would be the end of September.
Okay. Now, it's, as far as the, in the zoning, it lists everything in the C1, and it has recreational vehicle parks in there.
Yeah, the zoning isn't an issue.
Yeah.
It's properly zoned for what you want to do from what we have
Yeah.
looked into.
Okay.
So that's not your issue.
Okay.
The issue is we don't know how to tell you how to set out the plan for your RV park because we've never had an RV park. The RV park you have now existed before the
Right.
city was there.
Right.
So, and there is plans in the future for another RV park in the city of Kingston and several out in the county. So we all are trying to work towards getting this set out because we feel like this is going to be a big trend in the next several years of RV parks popping up in Roane County.
Right.
So, but until we get those rules set, we can't give you any guidance on how that would be approved
Right.
until we set those out.
Okay. So, there's no problem me moving dirt, right?
Well, you would need to talk to Mr. Kofer in the permitting department, and he will be able to guide you to what you can do and what you can't.
Yeah.
But in all fairness to Mr. Brewer, if he brought us a site plan next month,
we would be required to consider it
We could,
based on, because he bought the property based on the rules as they exist today, not how they might exist in September.
well, no, but there are still standards. And when we don't have standards, we go by industry standards,
We would
from what I
probably
understand.
address this as a planned unit development.
Okay,
That's the closest fit.
okay,
Yeah.
all right. You think you can get a site plan together in a month? Or actually, no, it would be, 3 weeks.
Yeah, 3 weeks.
It would have to, what's that date, Kelly? Do you know? What's the cutoff date?
I'm just thinking it's not fair to us to just say, sit on it till September.
Yeah, you
I mean,
have to
that's,
wait. Yeah.
Well, but we don't know if he has the 2 acres, or 2 acres or more.
right, he would need to bring us site plans and stuff, but at the same time, we can't just say,
Okay.
you just can't do anything until we, you know, get off our rears and come up with some standards. I mean, that's not fair to somebody who's investing in property trying to do something. I mean, they buy the property based on the rules as they currently exist. And even if we don't happen to know exactly what those are,
I get you.
you know.
I get you. I understand you.
Who's working on this,
It would be the
RV
6th. So
regulations?
could you get us a site plan by
Something we
August
wanna look
6th?
at tonight just for discussion.
Because it has to be here 10 days before our meeting, and our meeting is on
Well,
August
Okay.
17th.
we'll talk about that.
Now, does the site plan have to be done by an engineer?
Yes.
Yes, it does.
Okay, and yeah.
Help me understand, I'm new, he's new, and unfamiliar here. When he comes to the next meeting, what will be his request? What
For
is it-
us to approve
Approve the
his
site
site
plan.
plan for his RV park.
And that is something that we are obligated to do, even though there's no standards for it?
Apparently so.
And then if we use it, if we go by what the plan, the PUD, you know, we would go by that, what regulation and rules we have there.
Yeah, because we don't even have, as a city, not even as a planning commission, but as a city, length of stay rules in RV parks or any of that.
Well, in the absence of rules, we can't enforce.
We
it.
have to go by the industry standards of what an RV park is. There are standards out there that we could.
And there's a precedent for this?
Mhm.
And can you give me one example of that?
I can't. Mr. Williams probably could.
Well, I think if, we enforce something we haven't adopted, it would be going too far.
I think that's the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah, but the plan unit developments, the plan unit development regulations in here, offer a lot of flexibility to the planning commission to address this type of development, you know, whether it be condominiums or townhouses or RV parks or whatever. I wouldn't necessarily think it would be a good fit necessarily for mobile home park regulations. Mobile home regulations specifically say mobile homes, but planned unit developments is a little bit more open-ended. And, anyway, we would just have to address what's proposed at that time. We don't have anything that says in here that, for a mobile home, they have to be, size of the pads, all that kind of stuff. We don't
So to
have-
answer your question, Mr. Owens, this planning commission could vote to approve whatever he brings forward, and then a couple of months later, we could set standards that could be completely different.
So if he brings in a site plan next month, we won't vote on the use of the property, we'll vote on the site plan.
That's right.
And what comes up in the site plan, so it's like, is there erosion control, is there enough, drainage to to keep it on the site, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's got that sort of thing listed in
Right.
the requirements for the planning and development, so I can get Mr. Brewer a copy of this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's the only thing we have to go by at the moment.
Surveyor or engineer, whoever he gets,
Mm-hmm.
and it requires, you know, certain things like sidewalks, like roads be built to certain standards,
Mm-hmm.
so on and so forth. Maybe even a stronger standard than what we might have in an RV.
It would be.
Yeah.
Because planning and developments, they're written in here to be taken pretty seriously and permanent.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm not implying that,
Anyway,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not implying that he might not be better off waiting until you finish what you're talking about, but
Doing anything prior to, I mean, like moving dirt?
Now that would be Mr. Kofer's area,
Right.
not ours.
Right.
So you would need to talk to the permitting office before you do anything to make sure what you're going to do is okay for you to do.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So did you write the dates down that I gave you?
Right.
August 6th
August 6th.
is the date that we have to have copies, 12 copies
Uh-huh.
of whatever your engineer comes up with to be able to be looked at for our meeting on August 17th.
Yeah. Okay.
Does anybody else have any other comments?
I had a question for you. So are you worried about that he could come up with a configuration that we approve, and then we wouldn't go back on that,
Right.
but maybe the usage rules that he's hoping to include would after he's put it in come into effect?
Yeah, my concern is council may not want two long-term living RV parks where there is no short-term rentals. Because we do need overnight lodging in the city. We're in bad need of it. And then we have possible two RV parks where an overnighter wouldn't be allowed to stay there.
Because there's not room.
Right.
Well, mine would be, I mean, I would let overnighters stay,
Okay.
you know,
But you don't at Four Seasons right now, so
Right.
I'm kind of going on what you already have
Right.
set up.
Right, yeah, yeah.
But again, that's not Mr. Brewer's business
It's not.
model.
No, I agree. That's what I'm saying. That it's not, whatever we do, if he gets his site plan and he gets approved before these are set in place, it doesn't matter what those rules are. Because it would have already been approved before.
it would be grandfathered,
That's right. Just like he is now.
a legal non-conforming use.
That's right. Any other comments? All right, Mr. Brewer, I hope we get to see a site plan from you.
All right.
All right.
Yeah.
Mr. Brewer,
Thank
do you have an email address I can get your, got an email address?
I don't really do it, man.
Okay, okay,
No more people like me.
that's fine, that's fine.
I mean, I've got one.
Let me write your phone number down again, I've got it at the office, but I wanna make sure that I,
Mi-
He can come to my office tomorrow, and I'll give him a copy of this.
that's, go by Glenn's office, and what I'll do is I'll email Glenn a copy of the planning and development requirements.
Right,
So, you know, you can give to your engineer or surveyor.
yeah.
Thank you, sir,
All right.
appreciate it.
All right. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. All right, yeah, I'll come down there tomorrow and get that. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good to meet you.
Uh-huh.
So speaking of, obviously, next month, there will be some, hopefully we'll have something in front of you guys to go over RV park regulations. Glenn has given me the Forest Service handbook, that the county is kind of going off of for their RV. And Mr. Williams has already copied a rough draft of possible, regulations that the city might want. None of council has seen it yet, so this is in its early stages, but do you have copies for people to take home?
I'm gonna hand out copies and I say possible because you don't have to adopt anything.
Right.
You can adopt something totally different, or you can use this as a guide, or adopt it as is.
Yeah, because I'm sure council would want to see it as well.
That, as a starting point, you scrutinize it, seriously and, thanks.
It occurs to me there's a fine line between long-term RV parking and mobile home park.
The definition is we cannot, or he does not have to collect occupancy tax on anything over 29 days. So anything over 29 days, there's no hotel motel
This
tax.
has been a big discussion in several places I work.
Yep.
Jefferson County went through the vigorous review of potential regulations, and they came up with something quite similar to this. That served as a model for this one, and they set the limit at 29 days. Now, how do they enforce that? I don't know that they do.
Well, no, they would go by, they're going by that occupancy tax. So if occupancy tax isn't being collected and they can see it, then that's
But
why.
That's one of the reasons they didn't, in Jefferson County, as in a lot of places, they have a lot of people, they have a lot of RV parks that go back sometimes decades, and they build the roofs over them and the steps, and they leave the RV there all year round, and they come in and they, especially out in, Douglas Lake, they come out and they go fishing. They treat it like a fish camp, sort of, and that kind
And that's how Four Seasons is. He has permanent structures. He has roofs over RVs. We've never collected occupancy tax on that site.
Right.
So,
But there's been an abundance of RVs sold this year from everything I've
Yeah.
read and heard. And maybe some of you have bought some. And I think you all want to be able to go somewhere on your way to somewhere and be able to not maybe sleep in a Walmart parking lot. So,
yeah, I know of 4 RV parks right now, maybe even more, being proposed in Kingston and the county right now.
And Rockwood.
Well, that's part of the county, but yeah.
Okay.
That's what I mean. There's so many.
We've got them, I use Jefferson County, I don't mean to compare you to Jefferson County, but it's kind of similar as being close to Knoxville, having lakes, and the scenery and everything like that. They're going in everywhere. We got one in Bean Station, 180 units, and I guess I shouldn't say we, as a staff planner, I'm dealing with one there, and they're going in everywhere. And the real issue is, are they gonna be long-term rentals and end up kinda like a mobile home park, or are they gonna be?
That's exactly what it
overnight
is.
rentals?
Yeah.
The only time I've ever stayed in an RV park was down in Florida when I went spring training with a friend of mine. And we stayed in it was an overnight place, and I thought that's the way they all work.
Yeah.
Until this was 20 years ago, until I learned differently. I thought they were transient, too. That's the word I use, transient.
I've got a newbie question.
Okay.
It's zoned for RV parking already, right?
Yeah, it is.
So what's the stopping from parking RVs on it?
Because he has to bring us a site plan because it's commercial.
Technically, you could just put them on there, but if he wants to move dirt and
Right.
improve the site itself has to be improved, so you've got to bring a site plan in.
Yeah, there has to be.
Like I said, we can't vote on use, because he's currently,
He's also got to run sewer to each and every site. He's got to run electricity to each and every site. I mean, it's a lot.
What's the last park that's been in the county? Is it Caney Creek? Is that the
Caney,
last?
and it's long. It's
They just did an addition.
yeah, and it's basically pretty much all long term as well.
And on those site plans, all the sites have to be shown, all the utilities, where they're at, their elevations and stuff, roads, pads.
Why, we talking about, we don't know industry standards, or we don't know what's wrong with, why can't we look at that model? Or, you know what I'm saying? If we don't know.
Well, that's
whether
what
it's not,
That's what I was saying, that's what we're gonna have to kind of lean on because we have nothing here. So we can look at pretty much everywhere around us has RV ordinances. Loudoun County does. I sent you several, Loudoun County, Meigs County. I'm sure Knox County does, but all of them are very, very, very similar. They basically copy and pasted so.
Loudoun County specifically, I knew the planner there, she asked me, did we have any RV park standards in Jefferson County? And she
Yeah.
send me one, so.
Yeah.
It's
So
on-
we have a lot to go off of as far as what's surrounding counties are doing.
There's about a half dozen industry standards.
Right.
Also, that seems like the short term, long term is so is it something that you feel allowed?
Now, that's just my opinion. I don't know what council's opinion will be.
But I mean, are you gonna allow it to be a long term thing if it's available through Airbnb or VRBO or?
We don't have any rules, so there's nothing to prevent any of that. No, it doesn't. Rockwood, for their new marina RV park, they're only allowed in 14 days. So, but we don't have,
Do they enforce it?
well, it's not built yet, but,
Or are they gonna?
oh yeah, yep. Well, basically, when rules like that are set in place, like the 29 days, they basically will just move it to another site. So they'll still be there. It's just, it allows the county, the city, or whatever to be able to collect tax on it. Because really you're really kind of circumventing the rules of a mobile home park.
Sure.
Because then you're assessed for every pad. In an RV park, you're not assessed that way.
And it's
There's no
also-
structures, not supposed to be.
Yeah, you also don't end up having roofs built over, you don't have decks built onto them, and stuff like that.
And we already, and
Maintains uniformity in the.
that's right. And in his current location, he does. There's roofs, there's permanent structures, there's all of that, so. Yep,
Talking about Four Seasons.
yeah.
Does it really mirror the model of Caney Creek?
No.
Gotcha.
And I think Caney
That's all
Creek,
it's built.
doesn't Caney Creek have a rule on the year of RV? Yeah, so that's another thing that they do, and I think Rockwood may be doing the same thing, but it has to be it has to be built a certain year, or it's not allowed in the RV park. That's how Florida has so many long-term, is that they'll allow you long-term, but your RV has to be this age.
You have to upgrade every so often.
Yep, to be able to be allowed there. Is there any other comments? Questions? All right, can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second? All in favor say aye. Chris? Yes. Okay, so, have you ever heard of Tiger Grant? It's a huge federal grant that allows cities, counties,
I thought that was
states
pretty interesting.
to do